Hello, welcome back to our second TSM podcast. Whoa! So for those of you who don't know, TSM, or Tucson Student Ministries, is a peer-to-peer ministry that uses performing arts and outreach to impact the students of Tucson. Heck yeah. So if you want to get involved or you'd like to donate, please check out our socials. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we are not on Twitter, but we are on Facebook. And then you can also check us out and find us on our website. Look there for any resources that you might be looking for. So this is our second podcast, and here we have Jason, our special guest.
Hey.
Woo! Okay, so Jason, I have a question for you.
All right, Jonathan.
Okay, what is your favorite dance move that nobody knows about?
Like a dance move that I can do?
Yes.
None. No, I mean, I was never really a dancing kind of guy. I mean, I guess I can do the Running Man.
Nice.
I can do the. Well, yeah. Not so much.
So one of the things we're going to be doing here at TSM is Jason is going to be leading a dance class for us. We're really looking forward to it. I'm just kidding.
That would be amazing to see. I'd love to see that.
I would love to see it too. Okay, so tell us, who are you? What is your story? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
What do you want to know? How far back do you want me to go?
Oh, shoot.
Many years ago, I was... No.
I mean, if you want to. I want to hear a little bit about your history. What jobs have you had? What does your life look like? Who were you in high school? I mean, I don't know. What were you like as a toddler?
Well, I grew up in a military family. My dad was in the Air Force for 31 years, so I traveled all over the world with my family growing up. I went to high school in Nebraska. I graduated from Bellevue East, a long time ago. And then I went to college. Actually, I came to Arizona to go to college. I went to college at Grand Canyon University. That's where I met my beautiful bride, Katherine. We were going to school together, and we decided we were going to get married, and then I needed a job, and I didn't know how to do anything. I hadn't finished college yet, so I wound up joining the military. I was in the military for 21 years. We traveled all over the world. We raised 3 beautiful kids. They're all adults now. It's amazing to see, what they're up to, and
all of which you help out the ministry.
Yeah, we're all involved. Woo! It's exciting. And then I retired here in Tucson, Arizona. Nice. Davis-Monthan was my last duty station. I started working full-time at a church here in town, Passion Church. It was fantastic. I was on staff for just over 6 years, I think. Nice. And then Katherine and I had a call to independent ministry. So we stepped out this last summer. We started ministry on our own with New Song, and we planted a house church here in Tucson on the east side of town. And we also got behind this amazing organization. The executive director, we were talking a lot, over the course of the last year. She had amazing ideas. We thought, how can we help make this happen?
Yeah.
Because it's amazing to see what young people are able to do when they interact with other young people to bring, a message of hope and everything. So I'm also the president of the board for Tucson Student Ministries, which is really awesome. So I get to help out too. I'm really excited about that. So I'm excited to be here today.
Well, I'm glad you're here. It's such a pleasure and an honor to have you here.
Thanks.
So thank you for that. So today, for those of you who don't know, we are going to be talking about the families with mental health or families with 1 to 2 members who are struggling with mental health. So that's the topic we're going to be going over. So what do you know about that? What is something? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we do have that in our family. In about 2001.
Before I was born.
Okay, great. Way to make me feel old. Thanks. No, that's all right. We moved back from England. I was stationed in England at the time. We moved back. I got reassigned to Nebraska, and our kids were all really little. It was it was just a challenging time. We were adjusting to being back in the United States. You know, the kids were growing. Katherine had all three of them at home. You know, it was just a lot of stuff going on. And then we realized that she was starting to experience some mental health issues. We didn't know what it was. You know, we were trying to get help. We were realizing that actually some of the same issues were showing up in one of our kids. So we were just really trying to find answers. What is this? What's going on? She wound up with a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. Two of my 3 children also wound up with a diagnosis of bipolar disorder as well. So out of the 5 of us in the family, we had 3 who were diagnosed with bipolar. And we had to learn how to adjust life to just, I mean, how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
So that's kind of our history with it.
So what did adjusting to that look like? For you guys, what did that look like? What did a good day versus a bad day look like?
That's a great question. I think to really understand this, I'm going to talk just about what I went through with Katherine, because when you're dealing with mental health concerns in adults and children, it's a really different ballgame. Mental health issues with adults, there is some level of conscious interaction. There's some level of accountability and interaction that you can expect from them. So actually, it wasn't initially a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. It was depression. It was, things like that. We thought it might be postpartum depression at first. But we went through this whole process, and it is a process discovering what your family member is struggling with. A good day was, everything was exciting. Bipolar disorder, for those of you who don't know, it's a condition where a person cycles between a state of mania or euphoria and then a state of depression, which is outside the normal experience of those emotions, because everybody gets excited.
Yes.
Everybody gets sad.
Yeah.
But these are extremes of emotion.
So question on that, is that for those extremes, is it like a quick shift between extremes, or is it just because they're so extreme one way or the other?
It depends on what type of bipolar disorder you have. It's the way that it's classically diagnosed, I believe, is you have 4 manic or depressive episodes in a 12-month period.
Gotcha.
So you have a high, you have a low, you have a high, you have another low. Oh, you must be bipolar.
Gotcha.
So that's classically how they diagnose it. But a good day is everything's, fantastic. You're excited, you're happy, you're full of energy, you want to go out and do stuff, you feel like you could conquer the world. Yeah. A bad day is, it's more than just like a normal bad day. It's like the worst day you can imagine times 10. Gotcha. Everything's horrible. Everything's horrible. There's no joy. Everything just looks gray. From the way that Katherine described it to me, that's kind of how we discovered some of this stuff. We got some literature that we were reading through to try and educate ourselves. And I remember reading through it one day. It was a classical description of bipolar, and I turned to her and I said, I think this might be something that you're going through. And that's kind of how we started on that journey, is because, some days I'd come home to a different person at the end of the day after work than the person I left in the morning. Gotcha. So it was confusing for everybody.
Yeah. Gotcha. So when those things were happening, what did you do what were things that you did to, like, I guess not fix the situation, but deal with the situation?
Right.
Because I know you were in the military. I know you were working. So what did all of that look like? Yeah. How did that process?
Well, I had I'm so blessed. I'm so very thankful. I had some really fantastic supervisors at the time. They knew we were having some issues at home. I sat down and talked with one supervisor, told him basically, we don't know what's going on. We don't know anything. Here's what we know so far. And just keeping open lines of communication with my supervisor. Really, he really was in my court. He was on my side. He was for us, to support us. And that was just so helpful. So I mean, the first thing is, you need to have a network of people who care and can support you. I don't know honestly, I don't know what I would have done without the support I got from my supervisors who knew about the issue and what was going on. Especially being in the military and moving around all over the place my whole life. I didn't have any really lifelong friends that I could call and say, hey, can you guys be praying for us? Or, hey, I just need someone to talk to. Our church community that we were a part of, we were very new to it, so we didn't have any relationship at the time when this started. So really, it was my military family that just kind of backed us up.
Gotcha.
And I think that's what really helped us bridge the gap. And there's some incidences I can think of specifically that really highlight that. Okay, so like there were two instances specifically. The first time Katherine started, we started discovering what was going on. I just thought she was just really struggling with depression and everything. Yeah. She wound up, I think it was overdosing on sleeping pills.
Gotcha.
And I didn't know what to do about it. I was young. I was foolish. I was like, I don't know what to do. She looks okay. She just looked a little bit out of it. Yeah. I should have taken her to the hospital immediately.
Gotcha.
That's one of the regrets I have, is that I didn't do that. I was like, no, let's just make sure you're okay. We'll go to the clinic in the morning. That was a foolish decision.
We live and we learn.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of a wake-up call, because we got into the clinic and, they took care of her, but then they discovered she was really wrestling with some stuff. And they got her into a 24/7 care facility. And she got to interact with some doctors, she got some treatment. And we really that's when it was really real. Yeah. Oh, this is bipolar. This is what this is. And then the second incident, she had been seeing a doctor for a little while, but I don't think he really listened to her well. Gotcha. She would come in, she would share with him what was going on, and he'd prescribe medication. And not really any counsel, not really any encouragement. Yeah. It was just prescriptions. It was just medication.
Here's your meds.
Yeah, right.
You'll be fine.
Right, exactly. And actually, one of the medications that he put her on, and I don't remember the name of it anymore, I'd have to ask her, we found out it actually made what she was going through worse. Yeah. And she went from classic bipolar to what we later was diagnosed at this next incident as rapid cycling bipolar. Ooh. Which is exactly what it sounds like. She would have ups and downs multiple times a day within hours. So I could come home to a happy person, and 15 minutes later, it was a not happy person.
Gotcha.
And 15 minutes later, it was a manic person who wanted to clean the whole house on hands and knees with a toothbrush. Yeah. I'm being a little over dramatic, but not that much.
I get it, yeah.
So what happened is I'll never forget this, because I was at work. She was at home with some of the kids. She called the doctor. She told the doctor, and I can't remember all the details because it wasn't me. This is what she told me. She said she called the doctor and said, basically, you're horrible. Honestly, you're horrible. You never listen to me. All you do is give me medication. I feel like I'm going out of my mind. I'm going to kill myself, and it's your fault.
Gotcha.
And hung up the phone. And so, of course, the doctor had to call law enforcement, EMTs.
Yeah.
So I got a phone call at work. This is how it happened to me. I was in the middle of teaching a course for work. I got pulled out of class. They said, hey, there's a phone call for you. You need to take it right now. I picked up the phone, and it was, is this Jason Anderson? Yes, this is the, so-and-so sheriff's department. We're at your house. Is there somebody who can come take care of your kids? We have to escort your wife to the hospital. I said, what happened? And he was like, is there anybody who can come take care of your kids? And this is how great the support network I had at work. I said, I'll be home in 20 minutes. They said, okay, we'll be here. I hung up the phone and I headed for the front door, and I passed my supervisor's office and said, I got to go home now. I'll call later. And that was it. That's all I said. And I disappeared for the whole rest of the day. I went home. I got the kids. They escorted her to a mental health facility where they were going to keep her overnight over the weekend. I called my supervisor, told him what was going on. He said, don't even worry about coming into work. Take care of what's going on with your family. Call and check in every morning.
Nice.
And they just took care of me.
Yeah.
While she was in the mental health facility, she wound up seeing the one doctor in the region who was the number one doctor for treating bipolar.
Oh, nice.
She was the one who diagnosed Katherine as rapid cycling bipolar. Took her off all the meds and got her system cleaned out and got her started on different meds that are specifically targeted to regulate that version of bipolar, and said, I'm taking you on as my patient. It just happened to be her weekend that she was serving in the facility, so it was just a real blessing from God in disguise.
Yeah.
So I mean that was tough. You put your family member in a mental institution 2 times within a short period of time, and you feel like your world's falling apart.
Yeah.
I mean, especially we had young kids, so it was a challenge to try and explain to them too what's going on with mom.
Yeah.
And help them understand it.
Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story. I know that's a very difficult story to share.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult part of your history, and I understand that. And I just want to say thank you for that. So with that, question I have is, what would you recommend for students, like who have, say, a parent going through this, like what you were describing, like your kids, what did you tell them? What would you recommend for a student who's seeing this happening in their life or in their parents' life? Or
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the most important thing you can do is to talk about it with someone. Find someone you trust. Find someone who will be supportive of whatever it is that you're experiencing. As much as you're able to, try and have an open discussion with the family member that's going through that, because sometimes what they need is they just need someone to hear what's happening to them, what they feel like. Obviously, if there's some concern, seek professional help. Nobody, average Joe in the world, is equipped to deal with some of the mental health issues that can just happen. But everybody, average Joe in the world, can love someone who has a mental health issue and be there to support them, to listen to them, to make sure they're not alone if they're really struggling with their emotions, what they're going through, to help them get help, because sometimes they can't even think on their own. That was one of the best things that happened, is we got that professional help. We had ongoing care for years. We were able to, they call it like managing the illness. We were able to get it at a stable level for a long time. I mean, it was fantastic. And, it was just that regular, steady care. And so, I mean, for a family member, the best thing you can do is be there for the other person and help them to find the resources they need to get the help that they need.
I think that's something that very important is finding those resources and helping them get that, especially like a lot of times from what I've noticed with mental illness and just being in a similar sphere, having similar things just in my family is like noticing that, hey, these people, maybe they don't recognize that it's happening to them.
Right.
Or maybe they do recognize it but don't know what to do. And they're like, I don't know where to go. I am trying to deal with this. I'm trying to fix it, but it's not getting fixed. And I'm trying to. And so being able to be that resource, like you were saying, like being able to listen, but also being able to moreover love. And in that, find the resources to get them help. Because I know as a kid, I wasn't able to be a resource for my mom just listening to her as she was going through her stuff. Like that's something as a young child I wasn't equipped to handle, like you were saying. But I could find people, or I could get her in touch with adults, or I could get my sisters in touch with adults, or in your case, getting Katherine in touch with somebody who is prepared to handle those things and equip that person with the resources.
The other thing too that I didn't mention is one of the other things that I did was I did what I could to educate myself. Once we knew what it was, to find books on the illness that she was dealing with, to read information, to see if there were support groups out there, which there weren't at the time that we could connect with, and just so that I knew, so that I would be able to recognize when things were going on, and so that I could be help, so that I could whenever she was thinking a certain way or saying things about herself, I could be encouraging and say, no, that's not the truth. Here, let's talk about the truth together, and kind of help her walk through whatever it was she was experiencing. Now, for students to parents, maybe that's not something you can do, or your parent will allow you to do. But showing that you care, being there, asking how you can help, because sometimes what it is they just feel overwhelmed by what's going on around them. And I mean, the simplest thing, like, hey, I can do the dishes tonight. Let me take care of that for you, or whatever it was, if you're old enough to help in that way.
And I think that's something very important that you said, like student to parent, student to adult. It is a very hard bridge to get, or hard gap to bridge. And so I think exactly what you said, being a help when you can, but also knowing that you can't fix their issue, I think is something really important that I've just had to realize in my own life, is with the people in my life that I care about who are adults, who are dealing with things. Just anybody in general. I can't fix their problem.
No, you can't.
But I can be there for them. I can do what you said. I can try to make life a little bit easier, without forgetting my own mental health, without forgetting my own my own things that I'm dealing with, like making sure that I'm prioritizing myself, but also being there for them.
Right.
I have another question for you. So how do you feel like COVID, like this huge pandemic, has affected this whole topic that we've been talking about?
Wow.
And all of that.
That is an excellent question. I think it's still hard for us to quantify what kind of impact COVID has had. If someone's already struggling with mental health issues, the isolation, the way that we went about separating ourselves from others, the news surrounding it that was real but also very negative, certainly had a huge impact on just normal people. I can only imagine what it did with people who are struggling with a mental health issue. We were made to be with other people. We were made to be in community. as people, we function best when we're connected with other people. So I think COVID and the way that it kept kids from going to school and being with their classmates, except on a computer screen.
Zoom call.
Which is, hey, Zoom is great.
Yeah,
but
no, it is.
You can't be like, you can't reach out and say, hey, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
When someone's obviously struggling with something, you can't. I don't know. It's different whenever you can, be in person, face to face with someone. I think those people who struggle with mental health issues, whenever they isolated themselves or were forced to be isolated, that's a very scary thing to go through. I know when we were dealing with, bipolar in our family with Katherine, that was one of the hardest things for her. Just during the day when I would say, bye, see you tonight, and go to work. And she was at home alone, whether, she was taking care of the small children or after they went to school, she finding ways to be occupied and finding ways to make connections with others when they weren't there physically. I know that was one of the things that she really was, I guess you could call it hungry for, is a desire to be with other people.
Gotcha. And I think I was listening to a podcast, not this one, but a different one, one time, and it said the guy who was talking, he was like, so we go to the gym to work out. It's to physically improve our bodies.
Right.
And then he was talking about it, and he said therapy or counseling is basically the gym, but for your mind and your mental health. And I was like, oh,
that's really good.
That's so impactful. And I feel like in our society, counseling or therapy has such a negative connotation, because it's like, oh, that must mean something's wrong with you.
Right.
There must be something terribly wrong with you, and you need to go get help, which isn't always the case. I think we look at it through that lens, and it's such a negative thing, because all therapy is just somebody to listen to you, just somebody to talk with you. It's that connection you were talking about. And so I think he was saying in the podcast, he's like, I believe everybody should go to counseling, not because there's something wrong with everybody, but just because it's somebody to talk to. It's somebody to listen to you. It's somebody that you can just share your heart with, and they can share back if they have advice, or they can just listen if that's what you need. And so I was like, wow, that's such a good concept. And that's, especially since we're talking about a lot of mental health in families and that whole unit and dysfunction sometimes. I think trying to find counseling or trying to find therapy, and not every counselor is going to be perfect for you.
Sure.
That's just
we
just
discovered
how
it is.
that. You guys
not every doctor is going to
exactly.
be helpful,
Exactly. And so I think that's something really important that I would recommend to anybody, student, adult, parent, anybody, is seeking out a person that you can communicate with.
Right.
And I think counseling and therapy is a great way for that, because it is building that connection.
Yeah, and I really would recommend licensed professional therapists and counselors. It's great to talk to your friend. It's great to talk to your friend.
I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, but sometimes your friend may not be equipped to really meet the need that is present in you or the person who needs mental health. There's nothing wrong with going to a professional to get the help you need. Even if you're not sure, it's great to check. When I have a pain or a sore in my body, it doesn't mean that necessarily something's really wrong, but I want to check to make sure, so I'll go to a doctor. And if the doctor says, oh, it's nothing to worry about, then great, I don't need to go back. But if the doctor says, oh, you have a broken arm, then I better get it taken care of.
How did that happen?
How is mental health different from that?
No, that's a very solid point. And I think, no, I very much agree with you on that. I really agree. So one thing with this that I've very much noticed is just in the topic of talking with other people and communicating with other people and sharing your heart and all of that stuff, is making sure that if you are a person who is sharing or being shared with, that you are also prioritizing your mental health. So one thing I noticed is I love people so much, and I love being around people, and I love hearing what is truly on people's hearts. But also, whenever I ask people, I'm like, hey, what is going on with you? And they share it with me. One thing I have to be careful of is that I don't take it with me.
Yeah.
Because there's so much trauma that a lot of different people are suffering from. And if I'm trying to hold on to all of that, I'm going to start, it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. And I've noticed that in myself. I get very lethargic and depressed and all of these different things because I'm holding so many different people's issues on my back. And so one thing that's really important to know is that you can prioritize your own mental health. Like if you're hearing things from other people, you can just leave it there, I guess. I mean, it's such an interesting concept of being like, yes, I love you and I appreciate you, but also leaving that conversation there and going about your day.
Yeah.
And making sure to take time off from that as well. Like, you don't have to always be listening to everybody. Does that make sense?
No, that's perfectly, that's the right attitude to have. So much training that I've been through was always, part of it has always been focused on self-care. Mm-hmm. You know, who cares for the people who care for others? We have to, we have to take care of ourselves as well. And, there's nothing wrong with setting a priority of that stuff and setting boundaries around other things. As a matter of fact, we have to realize you can't save anyone.
That is, yes.
You can't save anyone. I can't save anyone. Jesus came to save us all, but when he was here on earth, he said a really great, whether you're a Christian or not, he set up some great parameters. He said the two greatest commandments are love the Lord your God with everything you are and love others as yourself. And what we tend to forget is that we can't love others well, we can't care for others until we're caring for ourselves.
Yeah.
That's the whole component there. So self-care, that's take care of yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. And that's and let me tell you, that's really hard for some people to do. That's not my personality. My personality is to do just the opposite. Take care of everybody else.
I feel that.
And forget to take care of myself.
I'm like, oh, I'm struggling with somebody. I better go help somebody else out.
But that's something.
Like I'm struggling? No.
That's something I had to learn how to do. And actually, Catherine helped me learn how to do that. Is over the years, we had to, as we wrestled with this and, as we normalized some things and others, we learned how to be who we are ourselves, not just who we were as husband and wife. And so there are things that we'll do that she likes to do that I don't like to do. But I don't say, no, you can't do that. You have to be with me all the time. No, I'm like, yeah, you should do that. And the reverse happens too. She there are some things that I like to do that she doesn't like to do. Yeah. And she's like, you should take time to do that. You should rest today. So she encourages me to do that. I encourage her to do that.
Final question for you. So how is Katherine doing now?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. She is no longer bipolar.
Woo!
Which is, yes, that's amazing. So I don't want to steal her story. You should talk to her sometime if she's feeling up to it. But she was stabilized for many years. We started seeking the Lord because I believe that the Lord heals as he wills, and he still does it today. Miracles still happen. So we just really started pursuing him. She got really radical with her faith, which was amazing to see. She pressed into God for answers. She really started training her mind, and there's a book by Caroline Leaf about the mind and how you can actually change, by rethinking things. It's amazing. Anyhow, go check it out. But there were some of those techniques that she began to practice. We had a great doctor who was very supportive of us as we began to pray through things and seek God. She actually began to change, and we found that over time, the doctor was like, let's lower your medication. Let's lower your medication. Let's lower your medication. One appointment, she came in and he was like, you're on such a low dose of this one last medication that you might as well be taking a placebo. I don't know why you're taking medication anymore. And it was like that. So, I mean, we went through that process with her medical doctor, so that it wasn't just like we went, God heal me, woo, we're done. No, we didn't. I mean, we really diligently, prayed to the Lord and went to the doctor and listened to his advice. And at the end, he like honestly said, I don't know how this has happened. I don't think you need medication anymore. I don't think you're bipolar.
Nice.
And that was amazing. That was, many years ago now. And it's just, that was a miracle.
God is so good. God is so good. And one thing that fascinates me to the utmost is just how well science and God work together.
Yeah.
And like he created science. He created the brain. He created all these different functions. And I don't know. It's just such a fascinating concept to me. And I think one thing that's really important that you said with that is not only were you seeking God, you were making sure that you were still with a medical professional. And so both,
I am not a medical professional. Neither is she.
Yeah.
That was really important to us that we don't just walk away from good advice, that we don't walk away from competent care.
Yeah.
We had great doctor who was really walking, like I said, he was walking through it with us. And at the end, he was like, I don't know how you did this. Yeah. So even he was amazed. And I love that because God does amazing things still today.
How long of a process, like years-wise, like was this in total from like start, do you feel like, to finish?
If I remember correctly, it was probably a somewhere between 2 and 3 year process.
Gotcha.
Because the first part was retraining ourselves how to think. Because when we think in a particular way and we make a habit of thinking in a particular way, it's hard to change the way we think about things.
Yes. It's actually a scientific, you're rewiring your brain. If you keep
Absolutely.
thinking in a certain way, your neural pathways rewire to fit that.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, that took a while because what we had to do is we had to recognize first what were the detrimental thoughts, what were the lies, what were the negative statements that just came out automatically. How and then how do we change that? What do we say instead? And I remember for a good 9 to 12 months, she walked around with a sheet of paper and had it on her, side table of her bed so that when thoughts like that would come, she could pick up the paper and she could read truthful statements about herself out loud to herself to make herself think differently than she had been thinking about herself.
I love that so much.
And so that was part of it. The other part of it was getting really good counsel with the doctor, not just medication treatment, but I mean also counseling with the doctor. And then changes in medication as she began to talk with the doctor and say, here's what I'd really like to do. I'd like to not be on so many medications because medication can jack your body up so many different ways, especially when you're on, oh my gosh, she was like on 4 or 5 at once.
Gotcha.
At one point. So it was a process. I mean, it wasn't like, when people say miracle, they think, boom, zap of lightning out of heaven and things change.
Bazinga.
But you know what? Waking up every morning and breathing in and out and going about your day and choosing to have a good day to change the way that you were, that's a miracle too, because there's no way we can do it on our own.
Yes. And that's one thing I do want to say. If you check out our Instagram, our Facebook, or on our website, we have a bunch of resources for you guys, tips that can help. We'll have a bunch of stuff up there at some point. And yeah, Because I think that's very valuable. Like that sheet you were talking about, having that and being able to check off, like, here are some positive thoughts that I know I've written down before.
Right.
And, like, there's just so many cool ways that you can do that and go about your day trying to live in that. Because, I don't know, I read this thing about addiction, and it's very much you've wired your brain a certain way.
Yeah.
And now you have to rewire it back. And it seems like an impossible task, like rewiring my brain, but it's really not. It's just forming a habit. It's forming a counter habit to what you've been doing. And it's like, I don't know, it's just so cool that we can do that and we can rely on God to help us in that. And like, it's just so cool. So all of that to say, healing is not a linear process. It is a process that takes time, and we'll go back and we'll go forward, and just trust the process, I guess. So I think that's all I have. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I just want to encourage you guys, if you are, experiencing any of these things, or someone who is, get help. There's nothing wrong with reaching out and saying, I need some help. I'm not okay. It's okay to not be okay.
Amen.
It's okay to tell somebody, hey, I'm not okay. I need some help. And then, I would like to remind everybody, we're not professionals. Mm-hmm. We're not healthcare providers. So I'm happy to listen if you want to talk. I know you would be up for it too.
Yes.
But really, when you seek help, if you need professional help, don't be afraid to get professional help.
And today we've been talking about a lot of very serious mental illness. If any of this has been triggering, or if any of this is stuff you've noticed in your own family, in your own life, again, seek help. We have a bunch of resources that we'll get out to you guys. Please check there. Seek counseling, seek therapy. And yeah, above all else, we're here for you. I think we should pray.
All right.
Would you like to pray us out?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Father, I just thank you for the wonderful creation you made out of each individual person on this planet, out of each person who's going to watch this video, Lord. I just thank you that you're there, that even when we feel most alone, we're never alone because you're with us. Lord, I just thank you that there's so many encouraging people who are compassionate and who want to come alongside of us to help us as we wrestle with things. I just thank you that you promise in your word that you'll never leave us or forsake us, and that we can always call out to you no matter what, where we are in life, no matter what we're going through, that you're always just right there. You're just a cry away. You're just waiting to hear from us, Lord. I just thank you for that. Lord, I just pray if this was upsetting or triggering for anybody watching this, that they would reach out to a friend or a trusted person that they can speak to, that will just listen to what they have to share, and that will come alongside them and just let them know that you are loved. Lord, I just thank you that every person on this earth is a masterpiece that you created, that we have value and that we have worth, and that we're not alone. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. So that's all we have for today. I just want to thank you guys for a wonderful time and for coming and joining us in this. Remember, you're loved, you're valued, and we will talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye. Woo! Thank you guys for joining us today at our podcast. Our podcast will drop every last Saturday of the month, so stay tuned for that. You can also find more out about us. You can find resources. You can check our Instagram and our TikTok at TucsonStudent_. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube at Tucson Student Ministries. And then also you can find us on our website at TucsonStudentMinistries.org. Thank you guys again for joining us. We love you. You're valued. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.